Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel, Paper Crafting with Paul. And today I have another Graphic45 project to share with you. And this is my Let's Get Cozy album, because I've used the Let's Get Cozy paper pad. So it's not quite Christmas, but it's a winter themed one. And recently we've had a bit of snow over here in Wales. So I thought it was a nice time to be using this. Now, if you've been to my channel before, you'll know I like to be quite economical with my papers. So the selling point of this album, or the unique part of this, is that it's been designed to make the most out of a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So I'm going to skip the inside for a bit and take you to the 2-page spreads. Let's go to the middle one. So from one sheet of the 12 by 12, I cover the back of this page, I cover the front of this one, I cover this flap, the liner, and also the photo mat here. And I also had another sheet I could have used there, but I used it to cut the tabs. So it's just a way of using your patterned papers, showing off both sides, but also making the most out of the papers, and then some nice pockets at the end. And it's quite a useful one as well, because I did originally think about using the journal cards. I got them. I didn't end up using them because I wanted to show you how economical it is. So, but a 6x4 photo, we've got room for them here in these triangle pockets. You can even stick one there rather than have your little tuck spots. Then there's room for 6x4 photos in here, and then, well, 6x4, whatever size you want in the back as well. Now you may notice that the front cover is a little bit shorter than the back. Now, originally, that wasn't going to happen. It was actually a mistake when I cut it. And rather than waste the grey board, I decided to make it a feature. And I added these tabs so that we can see more of the papers sticking out there. But of course, if you wanted to have it full, you can. But I'm going to actually stick to it because I actually quite liked being able to see all these tabs sticking out, because usually you only see it when you open the album. So it just added a bit more interest to the front. And just put this back in tidy. There we are. So this album is 6.5 by 7.5. And the cover then, the front cover on my accidental one was 7. So you can see where I made the mistake and I cut it at 7 instead of 7.5. And I said it was economical. This entire album, including the fussy cutting, including all the tuck spots, was made using just half a pad. So that means if you've got the 12 by 12 pads, you'll be able to make 2 of these albums. So let's go through. It's just a repeating page. Wanted to keep it nice and simple. Use some of the cut aparts, which was on this page. But then again, I could have used some of my journal cards. So we've got a flap here, which fits 6x4 photos if you don't stick that on. Or you can have a tuck spot and have smaller photos. Then you flip it open. You've got room to tuck in 6x4 photos here and some more space here. I can see how I managed to get a pattern repeat going along as well. Also, this is from cut out from the paper pads, so you've got a few 6x4s there as well. You could add magnets and closures if you want. I haven't. I've kept it basic so that you can then add your own taste. And then a matching photo pad, again a photo mat, room for a 6x4 photo there again. And you could do it on the back as well, but I haven't, because I thought it might get a bit too bulky and won't slide back in properly. So that's why I've only done one side. Plus I wanted some papers for the tabs because I did that front cover wrong. And again, we've got a nice little tuck spot there because we had quite a plain paper. Then these nice rabbits. So a nice little swivel closure or a corset would be nice there. Again, opening up 6x4. So you can see all the pages are the same going through. Just moving the tabs down as we go. I think I really did like this paper. Again, it's all exactly the same. Tuck spots on the left. 6x4 photo places here and here. And then 6x4 or wider inside. Photo mat there. And then the houses. And tuck spot again. Opens up 6x4 and 6x4s. Pocket. And photo mat. And then the final one, just a little tuck spot there. And then you've got a deep pocket here. And then this pocket goes all the way down too, so you can put more 6x4 photos in the back. So that's a quick walkthrough of the album. So let's get our chipboard, get some cardstock and our papers, and let's have a go. So the first part is to make your cover. Now, I haven't shown this in this video purely because I've done lots of videos on how I put my covers together, and you have your own preference as well. If you want to do it with the cardstock wrapping, you could do it that way. I like to use the tape method. So I've used some framer's tape to tape up around the outsides and make it flexible around the hinge. So if you're going to make it like mine with the shorter front, you're going to cut your grey board at 7.5 by 6.25, and this is the back, like so, and the front will be 7 inches across by 6.25. If you want to make your cover the same size, of course, cut it at 7.5. Then the spine, you can see I did change it. I made it a bit slimmer this time. It's going to be 2.5 this time by 6.25. So that then is your cover ready made. But today the focus is going to be on how to use our papers, and so I'm going to concentrate more on the construction of the base album and decorating. So I like a flexible hinge. It just helps my pages lie flat. So I'm going to start with my spine, which is going to be 3 by 6.25. And then I'm going to stack another hinge or spine on top, and that's going to be 2 by 6.25. Now I'm going to flip them upside down so they're in order for me later on. Then I've got 4 pages, and these are cut at 6.25 by 10 5/8. So you'll need 4 of those. Then to make it into a pocket page, we're going to need 4 pieces, 6.25 by 7.25. So 6.25 across, 7.25 tall. Each of those pages are going to have that nice deep pocket on the inside. So we need 4 pieces, 4.5 by 7.25. To make those little optional triangular pockets on the inside of the flaps, you don't need to have them, but if you want to make them, you'll need 2 pieces, 4 by 4 inches. Then the back page will have those nice long pockets and deep ones. So you're going to need one 8.5 by 4 and one 8.5 by 2. And I've also got 4 photo mats cut at 6.125 by 6.125. If you want to make them a bit longer, by all means do that. So that's all the cutting. Now I will also do a PDF with all the cutting pieces. So if you'd like a copy of that, you can look in the description below and join my Facebook group called Paper Crafting with Paul. And in there, in the file section, I will add a printable PDF with the cutting guide for that and some photos for you to refer to. So let's put them aside and let's grab our scoreboard. Now, I promise you, this is going to be nice and easy. I don't do difficult. So we're going to start with our spines. This is probably the most complicated part you're going to do. With a short edge on the top, score at 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch. So the first bit, this 1/2 inch, will be what we attach the page to. And then this extra little bit will be our flexible hinge, which means our papers will lie flat. We flip it around and we just repeat 1/2 and 3/4. So I said it would be easy. So for our hinge to flex a bit more, I'm just going to turn it over and repeat those score lines. So we've trained the cardstock to go both ways. And with the other one, the wider one, we're going to do the same. We're going to score at 1/2 and 3/4. But I'm also going to do a little mark at 1 1/4. That's going to be just a guide for us to put that in the center. And at 1 3/4. And I'm going to flip it around. 1/2, 3/4. And then flip it up. 1/2 and 3/4. Mark, so check at 1 1/4 and 1 1/2. That's going to be our guide for later. Flip it around. 1/2, 3/4. So we've just done 1/2 and 3/4 from each side on all 4 of our spines. So it's not that tricky. And I said that was probably the hardest bit of the whole thing. So now we're going to grab our nice long pages. And I'm going to lie it in with the long edge on the top. Our flap that comes over is going to be 4 1/4 inches. That's just a bit bigger than a 6x4 then. So that's why our 6x4 photos will fit. Now the easiest way to do the next bit is to flip it round. So our pages are going to be 6 1/4 wide. So I'm going to score at 6 1/4. So that will leave us a little 1/8 in between. So that's just going to give us a little depth. So when we put our pockets and things, it's not going to push the flap up. So we're going to do that on every one. So I'm going to score at 4 1/4. Rotate. 6 1/4. 4 1/4. Rotate. And 6 1/4. And the last one. 4 1/4. Rotate. 6 1/4. So that's my 4 pages done. I'm going to place them over this side. Actually, I'm going to move everything over to that side. So my unscored is on my left, my scored is on the right. So now we've got the bits which are going to make the pocket. Now we're going to put the longer side, the 7 1/4, into our scoreboard. I'm going to score at 1/2. I'm going to rotate it and score at 1/2. And we're just going to repeat that on all 4. I think that's the beauty of a repeating page. You can sort of get into a rhythm and you can just get going. Put one in, I haven't scored it yet. 1/2, rotate, 1/2. So that's my 4 pockets done. So now we're going to do those inside pockets. So this is my 4 1/2 by 7 1/4. Long edge on the top. We're going to score down both short sides at 1/2 inch. And down one long edge at 1/2 inch. So I've got to score 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch in from here, and 1/2 inch in along the bottom. So I'm going to do that 3 times. 3 more times, sorry. 3 more pages to do. There's 1. 2. And 3. Then we've got those triangular pockets we're going to create. So these are my 4x4 squares, and I'm just going to score 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. And the other one. Because what we'll do is cut these in half on the diagonal, and we'll end up with 4 pockets. And now this is that long pocket on the back cover. And the same as we did with the inside pockets, we're going to score 1/2 inch down both the short and 1/2 inch down the long. And this one is the pocket on the top. Now it looks like it's a bit narrow, and it is, but don't worry, it's meant to be like that. So I've done 1/2 inch on both sides, and I'm going to score at 1 inch, but I'm only doing it gently. This is going to be for lining up. It's not going to be folded, so it's just a light line. So you can see the difference between my score line, which is nice and deep, and just a guide. I'll show it in the light there. You can see it's not a deep curve. And then 4 photo mats don't need any scoring. So let's put the scoreboard away, and let's bring our pages back. And what we'll do now is we will add a strong double-sided tape. So let's just move these. Let's focus on one bit at a time. So the first bits we're going to do are the spines, and I'm going to add some tape just down each of those 1/2 inches on either side. I'll bring it closer to the camera for you to see what I've done. So this was my 1/2 inch score line, and I've put the tape down the middle, so not touching the score line and not touching the edge either. You don't want to get tape inside that groove. And you can see my measurement marks for later on. And repeat on the other one. So every time I put in the tape, I'm placing it down the middle. I'm not going anywhere near my score lines. So that's those 2 done. And I'm going to turn them over. The 4 pages don't need any tape, but the pocket pieces do. Now the pocket pieces have got 1/2 inches top and bottom, so I'm just going to put the tape and I flip them over, so when I come to do my scoring, my burnishing and folding later, everything will be in order. So my technique, my albums, they seem to take a while to prep, but once we start assembling, you'll find it's a very quick assembly. So a lot of our focus is on the preparation, and then we will whip through construction. So these are my inside pockets. So I'm going to add some tape to the top. Now I don't need to put tape in that little square part because I'll be cutting that off. So just save, well, it's 1/2 inch of tape. So we've saved 1 inch of tape on this. And by the time we do all 4, we've saved ourselves 4 inches of tape just on the pocket alone. other way around. There we go. And the last pocket. Oh, this is the other way around as well. Here's the long one. And those two square pieces, I'm just going to put tape inside those score lines. One, and then that long pocket for the back, and then we've got that very strange one where I only need to put tape top pieces. Okay, so from the score line up to the top, but it doesn't matter if you put it on the bottom because it's been scored down the middle anyway. So it's that 1 inch either way. So just put the two pieces there, and then our photo mats, nothing. And again, I'm going to flip them over, and we can start now preparing all the rest of the bits. So I'm going to grab my smaller scissors. Let's start with the spine. Again, as I said, the spine is probably the most complicated part of it, and even that isn't too bad. So I'm going to bring it closer to the camera so you can see score lines. So this is my 1/2 inch. This is my 1/4 inch. I'm just going to take a scissors. I'm going to cut the triangle and cut the corner of the 1/2 inch piece away. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. And on the other side. So you end up with that. And what that's going to allow you to do is slide your pocket pages over the top easier. If they were straight, you would find it difficult to slide on, but this sort of guides it on. So let's do that to the inside as well. And before we carry on, I'm just going to add the tape as well down the centre of the thinner one, and 3 pieces down the centre of the wider one. I'm just going to use my burnishing tool just to burnish it all down. Okay, so this is the back, this is the front, so you see they're both the same. So what we're going to do now is fold the 2 score lines nearest the centre up. Now you don't need to squeeze too hard with this, you just need to bring it up, and then fold on the on the 1/4 inch one as well. Now that is going to be your flexing hinge. So you're just going to practice folding it in both ways and do the same on the other side. And then just fold it both ways. So what you get is a U shape, but with sort of wings flapping back. You can see like that. And then those will fold both ways. I'm going to do that the same with the thinner one. And just train the outer ones going in both directions. And what you'll find now is this piece, which we put tape on the back, is 1/2 inch wide. I'm going to use some glue as well. I use Cosmic Shimmer Dries Clear, and it's nice and strong. It's an acrylic glue, and it's easy to get hold of here in Wales. I'm just going to smear it, get some good coverage. So you don't want too much glue. And this will fit between, so I've scooped it up together like that, and it's going to fit in between those two score lines. Here you are. Do you remember those two marks we did? And turn it around and line it up between those two score lines. And that means that all my pages now are equal distant from each other. Now this one is a little bit taller than the back one, so I'm just going to cut it off. I'm not going to worry too much about that. And that is my hinge system all made, and I will be sticking that now in here. Now it's exact the same height as my chipboard. I'm going to do it now so that it has time to dry whilst I'm making my pages. So the tape keeps it in place for now, but the glue will make sure it stays in place. So it adds a lot more strength. Make sure I get it to the edges. And I'm just eyeing it up. There we go. So that is the hinge system all in place and going to be set aside to dry whilst we got on with our pages. So to make our pages, let's start with those nice long ones. So these have got two score lines quite close together. Now when they're close together, it can get quite tricky. Just rub the glue off my fingers. So what I do, I fold one and then sort of just roll the other one up. There is no way I can score both. So that now has given my page with that little bit of extra depth there. So I fold one and then roll it up for the other one. Now these don't need a harsh burnish, so as long as I get them lined up, I can just gently squeeze with that. There's two pages. And roll my, because it's only 1/8 of an inch. If it's 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, if it's 1/4 of an inch, it's fine, but 1/8 of an inch is quite thin. But it just gives us that little bit of extra depth. To allow our pockets to lay nice and flat when we put them in. So having the page like that, it's not going to fit onto our spine. So we need to get a sort of a pouch to it, or a little pocket. So these ones now, we're just going to fold back, and we do want to burnish quite hard on these. We want these to lie as flat as we can. So I start in the middle and I burnish out, rather than go this way. If you start from one edge, what sometimes happens is your paper sort of starts going off, or your score line starts to go off. So by doing from centre out, you're just doing a short distance and you're keeping things nice and straight. So I'm actually applying quite a bit of pressure there. And what you see, I fold it back and I score. I press down, I burnish, and I burnish. And that sort of just folds it a little bit there. But if I left it like that, that bit is going to push my page sort of out. So I turn it over and I use the sharp end and I get it nice, sharp fold. So from the middle out. So take your time doing this bit, because the flatter you get it, the flatter your album's going to be, or your page is going to be. There's nothing worse than spending all this time and then your album having a big bulge. So this might not be the most exciting bit to watch, but it's probably one of the most important parts. And as I said, most of my work is in the preparation, and you'll see the assembly will happen pretty quick. And we're now moving on to our central pockets. So now what I'm going to do is do a mitered corner. So I'm going to cut from the outside to the cross. That's where my two score lines met. Now if I carry on straight, when we come to fold these back, they will meet. So if I just come to that cross and then just angle my scissors a little bit to the left and cut it off, that little extra angle means when I fold them back, they're not going to meet, so they're not going to create an extra layer of bulk. So I'm just going to cut to the cross, angle to the left, and cut. So I'm going to do that on all of my corners. So I do this before I burnish. There we go. And now, just like I did with those pocket pages, I'm going to try and get nice, flat pockets. So normally I would take a bit more time doing this, but in the interest of a video, you don't want to be watching me do this for too long. Let's speed it up a little bit. And the last one. So let's get on to our triangle ones now. So before I do any cutting and burnishing, now that my tape is on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them in half, just place my corner in the trimmer's channel and cut. And the same with this one. So corners lined up in the channel and cut. I will need to do my mitered corner again, so to the corner, cross and shoot off. Change the angle to the left. But when I fold these over now, you'll see that we've got that extra bit sticking up. So we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is going to cut off the two corners as well. And the last one. Again, with this long bit, we're going to do our mitered corners again. And these two bits. And fold them back and score. Do the same on from the front. Oh, I didn't do it on the triangles, did I? So let's fold them back. And the last triangle. And then this one, you might remember, is slightly different. So I've got my score line coming up here, and that's where the cross is. I'm just going to miter a gentle miter to there. And then a gentle miter there. Again on the other side. So you can go straight across, but I'm just going to gently miter so I don't bump into the other pocket when I come to do it. And just a gentle miter upwards there. So you can see there's the score line. So I cut just slightly that way and slightly down there. And then we're just going to fold those two bits back and burnish those. So put those two pockets, keep them together on top, and that's my photo mats. So when I turn them back over, everything now will be back in the order that I want them. So let's start the fun bit. Let's start assembling. So before we get going, let's just move some of the rubbish out of the way. There we go. So for each page, 4 of them are going to be exactly the same. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a pocket. This is going to be the front. So I'm going to work on the back. So let's open it up. I'm going to start by taking off a little bit of the backing off my double-sided tape. This means that this bit is sticky, this bit is not. So when I put it down, I actually move it into place. I'm aiming, making sure we've got a flap on the top and bottom, to place it, lining up that corner and this corner. Make sure it's nice and straight. So I can move this bit now because the tape hasn't been exposed across here, it's only exposed there. Now I'm ready, I'm going to press it down. So it's made some contact there. And when I take this peeler out, it's adhering on. Now this time, I'm going to turn it around. I'll do exactly the same, but I'm going to push this and sort of smooth it out to get my page lying nice and flat. And then peel it out. So now I've got a flap with a pocket. This side is a bit that go to the hinge because we've got that extra 1/8 of an inch from the flap. So let's put those 3 to the side for doing later. This is my pocket for the inside. With my flap off to the right, I find it easier to turn it around so I can line up both pockets, both corners, sorry. I'm going to place it down. Now, if you find when you put your stuff in, it sort of knocks on that bit, what you can do is take some sellotape or some more of your construction tape. And if you just place it over the top, it'll sort of act like a ramp. So when you put your embellishment cards and things inside, I think I've put it away for now. It'll, instead of hitting that bump from our flap, it'll just slide over. And say any tape will work, just some sellotape, and then let's just fold it down. So now we've got a pocket there as well. So let's move those 3 for the other pages. And the final bit, so the optional triangle pocket, I think it does mean we've got more places for our 6x4 photos. It's going to go to the bottom one. So I'm just going to place it down. And that's our page finished. So I just need to do that now 3 more times. Oh, let's do I need a pouch piece first. So I'm just going to expose a little bit, work on the back. I just turn it round to side. I don't know why, I just find it easier then to look and see both corners. It just helps me get things straight. I don't know why. Again, I'm going to smooth it out. Let's add a pocket. Some tape so it doesn't jolt. Fold back some of the tape and press it down. Let's add a triangle pocket. Just a little bit off. So we've got 2 pockets done, 2 pages done. So here's the front. And you just sort of get into a rhythm of it. Attach on the back. Make sure it's in the right place. Expose a little bit more. Make sure the corner is nice and lined up. Smooth it out. Add a pocket to the inside. Smooth it into place. Let's get a triangle. So that's our 3rd page. Just 1 more. This is our page. This is our pocket. Let's add it to the back. That's another page. Adding our pocket on the inside. triangle. So that is the 4 pages all done. As I said, as soon as you've done all the prep work, the construction sort of comes together really quickly. So now we can bring back our cover, and let's do the back first. So this is where these 2 long pockets come into it. I'm going to take off the tape from my pocket base, or the bottom part, the bottom flap. I'm going to add some glue, just because I'm going onto the tape and the chipboard. And I'm going to make sure I'm butting it right up to the outside of the cover here. I don't want it to go over that ditch inside my spine bit there, otherwise it's not going to fold. So there we are. I'm just going to take off the tape and add some glue. Because it's going onto the tape and chipboard, I just want it to have a bit of extra strength. Now I said that this central score line was very faint. That's because I'm just going to use this now. I've got those 2 small tabs there, and it's going to just funnel inside here. So that pocket isn't actually a pocket, it's just sort of a little flap across top, but it just separates our 2 pockets. I'm going to do a little line here. Now when you come to your paper, it'll cover that, but you might see some of the grey board. So I'm just going to put some black tape over it. So that's just going to sort of camouflage the underneath. Alternatively, you can just have a longer piece of patterned paper, but I just think that saves some paper. Or you can put some black paper, or take your Pebeo black marker and just colour in some of the black, just so that you're not going to see the grey board through or in your pocket when you're putting things in. So let's tuck this in now. So I'm using that score line to line up with the top of that pocket. So it should end up being nice and straight. Because we V'd that bottom, it just sort of slipped in. And you can see now where the black tape sort of camouflages down. So that's the back page all done. Let's make sure it's all burnished down. So let's start adding our pages. Now, of course, you can decorate these before adding on, but I wanted to get all the construction done before. So I'm starting with the back spine, and I'm adding glue over the double-sided tape so that the page can slide on, and I've got a bit of time just to wiggle it into place. But of course, there's nothing on the back. Now, I didn't put tape there, because if I put tape there, it sort of grabs as I'm putting it on. By doing this, when I've got my page open, I can sort of have extra time to put it on. But I have put a strip of glue just to seal it for later. So what I'm going to do is, making sure I've got my pocket open, I'm going to slide it over. So you can see why those diagonals helps me slide it on. And I'm going to go just until I'm touching, or just before I touch, that 1/4 inch score line. Make sure it's nice and straight with the top and bottom. And there we go. So that's page 4 in. And I'm just going to repeat that. So a strip of glue on the back to stop everything falling out. And take off the tape and run some glue along there, just to help me. So get my hand in, make sure you're inside pocket's pouch, and slide it on. Now the joy of the flexi hinge is that you've got a bit of wiggle, so if it's not straight, nobody will know, because you can actually move it into place. And then I'm going to do the same, but now I'm going to do page 1, which is the first one on the left. Make sure it's the right way. Slide it on. So you don't want to cross that score line for that 1/4 inch piece, because otherwise your page won't flex. And now last one. Open it up. Slide it on. And press it on. And that is your album constructed. So you got your 4 signature, your 4 pages with a pouch on each, your triangle pocket, and a couple of deep pockets at the end. And now it's a case of decorating, and I'll be using the Let's Get Cozy, but of course this will work with any of your G45, any of your Graphic45 papers. And as I said, if you've got the journal cards as well, they can actually be used as well on the fronts of our flaps as well. So I'll show you that as well. So I'm going to tidy up all the bits I've cut, and I'm going to grab my papers. So here we go, ready to start decorating. Now, as I said, I only used half a pad. So this album and decorating this one is going to come from just the one 12x12 pad. And funnily enough, I've still actually got, from the original, I didn't use my border strip ones. So I've still got this to go. So if I wanted to add some, maybe I'll add it to the back, because I just used some black cardstock to save on paper. But I could use that there. So I have got more, or I can cut some tags or something from this sheet. So if you want some extra embellishments, you can. Now, beforehand, that's all I've done is the sheet which comes hard with the glare with all the journal-y cards. I've already cut those out just to save some time, but everything else I'm going to do in real time so you can see how easy this is to make. And as I said, the journal cards, also good. They can be used for decorating, or they can be used to put in some of the pockets as well. So I'll show you where you can use these, but if you haven't got them, don't panic. It can all still be made using just your papers. So let's start with the cover. And as I said, I designed this to be extremely economical. And the reason is we've got a 6 1/4 inch album, which means our papers are going to be 1/4 inch shorter. So I'm going to be cutting them at 6. So all my papers, when I come to decorate it, will be 6 inches tall, which means I get 2 long strips from each of my papers. Just put them to the side. Now with the front cover, out of the way, I wanted to make sure that I had a bit of the mousse and the Let's Get Cozy sentiment. So I actually did cut off a little bit just up to the Let's Get Cozy curlicue. So I had a little bit off, which was about 1 1/4 inch. So now my cover was 7 inches long. So I go to 7 and just go back 1/4 inch to 6 3/4. And that way I had a bit of the mousse to go on. So let's glue him to the front of my album. So I just apply the glue all over. And of course, if you want to use black ink to ink your edges, I normally do, but just to save time on the video, I decided to skip it for today. There we go. And then for the side, we've got the mousse. He's going to actually carry on around the spine. So I'm actually going to make it almost as wide as my spine. So my spine is 2.5. So I'm just going to cut it slightly shorter than 2.5. So just going back maybe 1/8. And that just means he comes a bit closer to that spine, so we get him matching all the way around. Let's just line him up there. So he's looking nice. And then it's up to you then. On the back, I'm just going to add a piece of black card. But if you wanted to add that strip there, and then add your papers onto there, you could do that later on. You'd have the whole mousse going all the way around. And that was my cover, made nice and easily. So you could stick to the nice easy one. Or what I did on my original one is, you'll see the paper later on. I think it's actually on the next page. I fussy cut some of the flowers. And you can see they're on foam pads. So we've got a few levels dimension. And these houses actually came from one of the journal cards. So I fussy cut them out, stuck them flat, and then added extra flowers and things. And what I could do now is go and add some little glossy accents to the flowers, to this flower, if I wanted to add some more dimension. So if you wanted to fussy cut, I'm not going to bore you watching me fussy cut those bits out. So that's how I added extra detail to the front. So I took it from this, which is lovely in itself, to this, which has got a bit more interest. So that's the front cover. And I actually used the top half for here. Oh gosh, we've had snow, now we've got rain. You can probably hear it hitting the window. So our pages now are 7.5, which means if I come down, it's 7.5, 7.25 inches. I'm using the full 6 inches tall again. And my pocket ended up being 3.5. So from the bottom, I'm going to cut 3.25. So that'll map nicely onto my bottom pocket. And then I'm going to take off an extra inch. And that's going to line this pocket. So just make sure I'm getting to the edge, not too much glue. And now I'm just going to tuck this inside that pocket. And what you'll see is the pattern will carry on all the way up. So now we're just going to add the last bit inside that pocket. So it worked really nicely with this bit because you actually had the images and it was quite decorative. So having that carrying on up really works there. So let me just burnish it all down and I'll bring it closer to the camera. So there is that one. So you can see this and the back page all so far has come from one page, and I've still got this little extra bit here which will come in handy for punching some of the tabs. Go onto my photo mats later on. So let's cut a couple, ready. So now we're going to go on to the inside, the left hand side, and I decided to go for this patterned paper. Now the reason being was I was using half of it to do my fussy cutting of the flowers, which meant I couldn't use it on my pages. So I cut it at 6 inches again, and my front cover, if you're doing the short version, is 7 inches. So I'm going down back to 6 3/4. But if you've done the full front and back the same size, just remember you will need to add a little bit extra onto this. And that's all I did, was just stuck this flat onto the cover. Take my Teflon tool and just burnish it down. So remind me to keep that for later on, keep it nice and safe. And then let's see which first time I used that one, so let's change this one up a bit. And what I did with this, now this came from that 12 by 12 sheet. It's not one of the journal cards. This is actually in your 12 by 12. I just cut it out and I've glued across the bottom and down the side, so it's actually a little pocket. There we go. So allow that to dry. So our inside covers are all done. From now on, it's just a repeat. These bits are what I cut my flowers from. But of course you can use this bit. There's enough flowers in that bit to cut. This can go on your photo mats later on. Now, just to be awkward, I suppose, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to show you how to decorate page 1. I'm actually going on to page 2 and 3. I think it's just easier to see what I do and how I get all of this covered using just the one sheet. And I think this time I'm going to use this one on the front page, just because I think it's my favourite one. So first I start by cutting it at 6 and 6. So 6 inches and 6 inches. So the back of page 1 is a square. So I'm going to cut 6 inches. And that will go on there. Then I've got a 4-inch one. So 6, 4, and you've got a 2. And the 2 is exactly what you want to go on your photo mats. So you've got your 6-inch, your 4-inch, and your 2-inch, here we got, goes there with, did I put my photo card? think I put the 6x4 photo card away. I'll show you later anyway. Fits in there and that slides in. So you'll see a little strip of it. So I said it's very economical. I'm actually going to do the same with this. So you're going to cut 6 inches, 4 inches, and then you've got 2 inches, which you can either put on the back of your photo card if you don't mind that bit of extra bulk and it being a bit tighter, or you can use this for punching or adding extra detail. So what happens now is you'd glue that there. Then you'd choose if you want that there. On the back, you're going to choose, let's go for the red, and then maybe the red here as well. Now this is a pouch and it's 4 inches. So down this, I'm going to turn it upside down because there's 4 inches. Let's go back 1/4 inch to 3 3/4. That will now mat there, and this will be the pocket liner, and that will go here. So that's how you would do the normal pages, but of course page 1 is a bit different, as it would be, because you're actually going to use this to decorate page 1 and the back of page 4. So this piece is going to go on the back. So remember, whatever you've got on page 1 also goes onto the back. So think about what papers you've got there and what will match both sides. So I think this one tied in all the colours. So that's why I changed my mind from my original and went for this. So there's page 1. Page 8. I think we're going to go for that. Now, as I said, this bit is actually, if you got your journal cards, where you'd be able to put one of these instead. So if you wanted to add journal cards, that's the perfect spot for them. Now we're going to go inside, and I've got that, so I'm going to want this red showing. So let's glue with the back. Now I'm just showing the, oh, that's the wrong one. Oops, I'm going to have to go for the red on the inside now. That's actually the one for the 4 1/4 inch flap. Oops, I'll get away with it. And because I cut this from the same square, my pattern will carry on over the flap. Let's just lift it up, tuck it in a little bit, and stick it down. Now I've got to be extra careful. Don't do like I've done and glue the wrong one. I'm going to tuck this in, and I'm going to line up where it would go now. Got to be extra careful because it's got the glue. And I'm going to mark where the pocket lies. And when I bring my trimmer, I'm going to line those 2 pencil marks with my channel, like so, and then move it slightly to the left. And that'll make that triangle just a little bit smaller than what I wanted. So now you've got that. And now you can glue this piece. Do I think I'm going to get away with it? So let's tuck it in. So because I went back a little bit, you've got a little bit going under there. So it just sort of finishes off as a nice little finishing touch. And if you had non-directional papers, which this one isn't, you could flip this triangle around because this edge and this edge is the same length. I think just having that pattern continuing works nicely as well. So that is now how we're going to decorate each of these. Let me bring in my 6x4. So this 2-inch bit I had left is only going to be a tiny, tiny black border you're going to see. And I'm using my 6x4 just because I haven't got a photo to hand. But what I do then is line a photo there and tuck this right up against it to make sure I get a nice piece. And then let's just take a tab, fold in half, adding glue to both sides. Now, if you haven't got a tab punch, a large circle punch will do. Just punch 2 circles and stick one on the front and stick the other one behind. You stick your photo on there and then slide it in. So you'll have it sticking out. When your cover is closed, these are the bits that are going to stick out and just give you a bit of extra interest. And now it's a case of repeating that process with your next sheet. So I've got these 3 left. Let's go for some red. So this time I know what I'm doing, and you'll see how quick just decorating the base of this really is. So cut 6 inches, cut at 6, cut at 4. Same with this one, cut at 6, cut at 4. Told you this was an easy measurement. Let's go to page 2. Let me pull my photo mat out just so I can see. If you struggle to see, just grab some white paper and place it behind. That'll just help you if you need help lining up. Which one? Oh, we've got some nice stripes. Do you know what? I'm going to go for the stripes. Then this is my 4-inch, but this is the bit with the triangle. So I'm just going to mark and mark. So there's where it would be if I cut on the pencil lines. But I want to move it back slightly to get my triangle. That on. Now this would have been a good one actually to flip it because the stripes would have been the same going up and down. It's a bit late now, I've already glued it. Okay, so I think in the original one, I think I used this on the front. So I did go for the stripes there. So this time I think I'm doing the opposite way around. So let's glue this on the front. And if we go for the stripes down the middle, what, that was a mistake. I needed to cut it from here, didn't I? So this bit is actually going to go on my photo mat quite quickly because I've already put the glue on. And I put the photo mats away. Not to worry, the glue is on there ready for the photo mat. I needed to cut 3 3/4 off the edge of this to line. So now we're going to glue my liner in. And now, of course, if you wanted to add magnets or something to keep these closed, you could add some extra closures of your choice. I haven't done in this video. I got videos using the Graphic45 farmhouse, which is called my closure album. So if you're looking for some closures to keep this shut, head over to that playlist. If you go to the top of my channel, you'll find a playlist section. Go to closure album and you should find them there. Now, I have misplaced, here they are, the photo mats. And I can't find the bit that I added the glue to. Here we are. I want to use this one just because I've already added the glue. I sort of know where they are now, so I'm just going to eyeball it. And again, let me punch the tab. So this time I'm going to come down a bit lower. So let's have a look how far down I came on this album. Because I think last time what I did was I did page 1 and 4 first and then worked out 2 and 3 from there. So there we go. Page 2, or the basics of page 2 and 3 are done. Let me punch another tab ready for page 4 later on. So you can see how quick the decorating comes along. I can do the same. So we're going to cut at 6 and 6. So this 6 inches is the inside, and 4. So this is, if this is going to be the inside of my pouch, I know it was going to be, let me cut this straight away. So that way I've got the pattern repeating on the inside of my pocket. This is now going to be the outside. So I'm going to have a 6 and a 4 and a 2-inch for my photo mat. Now, I do like the houses, so do you know what? There's going to be a lot of the houses on show. Now, if you're not going to use these bits on your photo mats, what you can do is put a bit of dab glue top and bottom, and you can actually use these as a belly band to put your photos underneath. So that's just another, but I quite like the plain. Like, we are going to flip it over here. I don't think I can do it the page all houses. Might be just a bit too much. I don't know. If I can get away with it, I probably would have. Lining it up. Marking top and bottom. Making the triangle just a little bit smaller. I'll try and tuck that in a little bit better. There we go. The triangle a bit. And then and you see this time the paper continues all the way across. So if you're using that paper from the front cover in here instead of the cover, this would be a great place to put that, because it would go all the way across. And oh, wrong side. See, I was tempted to use the houses again there. Just want to make sure it's in the corner. And a tab. Let's put it in. And just one more page to go. So I'm down to my last paper. This is the very Nordic one. I think quite quilty. Quite like the back, the geometric here as well. So again, 6, 6, and then a 6-inch and a 4-inch. And a 6-inch and a 4-inch. So this is going to be my pocket one. So I'm going to do it at 3 3/4 before I carry on and make that mistake again. So which way are we going to have this time? Let's have a look what I did the first time. Ah, here it is. Oh, I quite like that. So let's just reverse it this time. So on the pocket, let's have the rabbits. And my pocket liner. I think you've really got to go for the pattern repeat when you've got these geometric quilt shapes. It actually is from that bit, so let's carry it going then. You know, this is the last page now, and then it's all up to you to go and add all those lovely finishing touches, extra pockets. I'll show you how to do that. Some tuck spots. All those fun finishing touches. If you can do closures, now is the time. There we go. And let's get that geometric pattern on the front. And then this is going to go on my final photo mat. And I've just put the glue on the wrong side to what I wanted. I wanted the greys, didn't I? Never mind. It's going to have a lot of rabbits. And final tab, it's going to go down the bottom. So there we have the whole album covered. That's all I've got left. A few of these little bits. A couple, oh no, that's... here we got some photo cards. We've still got all these little bits we can add in. But as for waste, we've got barely any. But we do have one sheet left over. So I could cut these now and use strips in different places across the bottom of my pages. I could glue 3 sides to make extra tuck spots using all of these. Or what I might do is use these to cut out some tag shapes and make some journal cards. So that's all I'm going to do now is go through. I quite like that, quite plain as it is. This is a bit too plain, so I'm going to add, I could add that and just glue 3 sides. And that's how you make your little tuck spot. So now I'll be able to tuck some stuff into there once it's dried. I've got a nice sentiment here, which I can just stick right across, or again, down both sides and across the bottom will mean I'll be able to tuck a card or a photo in there once it's dry. I'm not going to leave it in there. My luck, it would actually glue there. So then just keep going through, thinking, where do I need some, ooh, that's got to go there, isn't it? More houses, of course there is. Now this time I'm just doing an L shape. So down the right hand side, because when I turn over it'll be on the left, I'm going to stick that down in the bottom left hand corner. And that'll mean then things can get tucked in all the way. That's quite nice as it is. Or what should we do? No, I'm going to use just a little snow just to balance out. No, it's a bit too short. Let's do what? I'm going to leave it until I know what I'm doing. This one, we've got a rabbit. Now, I have seen people glue along the top and have it there so you can tuck things up. I've never tried it because I'm just thinking, won't everything just fall out? But if you know how it works, go for it. That's a bit too much. Let's leave that as it is. And hello winter, hello winter. There we go. And let's go for bundle up. Okay. What else have I got? I think I've got 2 bundles up because I didn't use it in my last album. Let's go for bundled up then. Now this time I want the glue on the right hand side, so I'm going to put the glue on the left hand side of the back. Place it there. Now of course you can take your time. I've done it really quick because I know you've been listening to me for quite a while. But that then is your album finished. That's all I need to do is just add a piece of black cardstock onto the back, or I can add some of these borders, or I can use the back of this and I can use that on the back, and I've still got enough borders and things to add into my album. So there we go, the second version of my Let's Get Cozy album. I hope you agree that it's very economical, that it's got a bit of clever measurements, meaning we really did get the most out of our papers. And even with the mistake of cutting my front the wrong size, I think it just added a little extra detail. And the fact that we've actually had both these albums out of the one pad of the 12 by 12, I think is just brilliant. You really are taking your papers as far as they will go. And of course, it's up to you now. You can add and personalize it as you wish. Now, if you'd like a PDF version of the cutting guide, I'll type one up and I'll add the PDF into my Facebook group called Paper Crafting with Paul. And if you haven't had a look yet, head into the playlists at the top of my channel, and there's a Graphic45 playlist if you want to see some more of my Graphic45 projects. Again, in that playlist, I've also got a closures videos using the farmhouse. So if you want to add some closures to this, go for it. And if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot. And if you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. And if you do have a go, I'd love for you to post some pictures in Paper Crafting with Paul in my Facebook group. Again, link below. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all again soon.